A very warm welcome to all you wonderful listeners of Universal Mentors Association. We are coming up with our first session of the day. Uh, it is going to be an amazing session because we've got some really good stalwarts of education. I think it's not going to be wrong if I say that we are uh, in a superstar panel discussion, our first one for the day, because we have some amazing speakers here. Uh, no, without further ado, let me not keep you away from all these amazing speakers. The topic of the panel discussion is readjusting to the new normal, role of technology in coping up with the current situation. Uh, you know, the superstar panel discussion has to be a superstar moderator, and none other than the superstar Lieutenant Colonel A. Shekhar, who's the principal now of the Hyderabad Public School. Sir, thank you for joining us for this amazing, session, and we hope to keep you having on a lot of panels. It's really fun when when you moderate the session. We've been lucky enough to witness it. So thank you so much and welcome to the Universal Mentors Association's Digital Education Summit and Awards 2022.
Thank you, Sandeep. No, first I want to understand what is your definition of a stalwart, star, superstar? You
The
called all
superstar.
of us that. I'm scared. My wife has got definitely different views about it.
uh, no, sir, that can't be true. And
Right.
having saying that, that shouldn't be true.
Right,
Okay.
that shouldn't be true. Okay, but the first question is to you only. As we said this
Okay.
right before I get the other distinguished panelists on, how has it been? What is the new normal for guys like you?
So we are still trying to figure it out. And I think just like any other business, any other organization, any other entity, any other service provider, we're still confused whether to go, physical events or we should continue with the digital conclaves. The moment we plan a physical event, some another variant happens and we have to readjust, rebrand, and refocus on it. Business definitely has been slow, as with various other people apart from the healthcare sector. But to be very honest, I think we could have been better, but we could have been worse. So
Yes, that's a
I
fair
think.
point. We could have been much worse. And in many ways, I've got my sister and brother in the US, the anti vaxxers, the kind of stories they come up with, the anti mask types for a very polarized country as we are in India today. Thank God that there is complete non-partisan behavior as far as vaccination and masks are concerned. My only, yes, I agree with you, Gautam, and this is something which we have to register and remember. At least Mr. Modi and Mr. Gandhi are not fighting over whether to wear a mask or whether to wear having a mask with a hand or a lotus. Thank goodness for small mercies, because elsewhere it's terrible. Can you believe, Sandeep, that many parents have sued school boards and schools for forcing them to have
uh,
masks? And many of them have had their family members die, yet the Trump like truth, lies and bullshit, the bullshit has taken us so far that it's incredible. And very lucky that with close to 200 crores vaccines and with vaccines coming up for children and all, we are all quite assertive in telling our children vaccine or don't come to the school, which I believe is a unique privilege we all have. So
Absolutely.
before I get into the other panel, my other question to you is, you are married?
No, sir.
Not yet. So you have not
Yeah.
made that mistake. If you get married and if you have a child, what kind of future will you look for him or her in a school? Quick 3 points.
Uh, so I think I for me, when I'm coming up from as an entrepreneurial background, there are three definite skills that I would love to have. That I would wish that my child has. One is the networking skills. uh, you know building up friendships, building up relationships, talking, treating people with respect is one thing that we would definitely want our kids to have. You know, secondly, the use of technology. As Dr. Pramod said in our first session, uh, it is imperative that we know technology and not get addicted to it. So the knowledge of technology is important, but I think the addiction is bad. So the skill of have drawing that fine line between the knowledge and the addiction is imperative. And thirdly, I think the language skills is something that I would want my child to be proficient in.
Communication
Yeah,
skills in
absolutely.
every which way. Great.
Yes.
Thank you, Sandeep, for giving such a wonderful introduction. It's always great to have a perspective from somebody. And I pick up on the word confused. I believe the more confused we are, at least today, we are at least attempting to understand where we are. With these words, to everyone present here, thank you for spending your Wednesday afternoon with us. Sandeep, you can try and get the others if you can
Yes, sir.
manage to. We
Sure.
can
In the meanwhile, let me just call out the names of all the
yes,
speakers who are
please
there.
do that. Please do that.
Uh,
Thank you.
so we'll have Dr. Neeru Madhuri Parthi, who's the Director Academics of Aravali International School. Uh, we have Ms. Vijay Lakshmi Goswami, who's the State at West Bengal of Dream India School. Mr. Gautam Rajgaria, who's the Pro Vice Chairman of Delhi Public Schools. Sir, welcome. We are also going to have Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya, Principal of Manav Rachna International School, and Ms. Dharani Upadhyay, who's the co-founder of Fertidu School of Music. She might also be joining in. Uh, I think they're joining in a little late, but I believe
Yes.
Shekhar sir would
Yeah.
be able to
Right.
carry the session. So
Yeah.
let me just
Please get them in. Please tell them to join
Sure.
us, and welcome to all of you. Gautam, we are old friends, and as I say, the old sinners in it. We'll pick up from what Sandeep is saying. And hello to you. What is your first take as of today? That is the 23rd of February, 2022. We have had a black swan event. Hello, Geeta madam. Welcome to the show. We'll get you in. Hello, Dr. Sujitra. Welcome to the show. We'll get you in. So, Gautam, as of today, 23 months after the first cases happened in Kerala, with Kerala itself having full schooling only from day before yesterday, what's your first take? A short introduction about your school and then about 90 seconds to say what you think.
All right. Thank you so much, Colonel Shekhar. It's a pleasure to be here. I am Gautam Rajgaria, Pro Vice Chairman at Delhi Public School, Varanasi, Nasik, and Lava Nagpur. My first take is that 23 months have been playing havoc for all of us in terms of what kind of education to give. And I think today we are at a cusp with the NEP coming in, where we are all made to think. And as educators, as a school, as parents, as students, we are all thinking where the future is for all of us. And I think that is a very, very good starting point for all of us, because we are not in the rat race where 10th boards, 12th boards, and onwards. We are thinking about where education is going to be. And I remember yesterday we had a chat with somebody who said India at 2047. And I think with that in mind, with that vision in mind, India at 100, what are we going to do as educators? That question is where we are at this point of time. And my first take from what Sandeep said, parents really do not want their children to be going through marks and the rote learning. They want the engagement, they want communication skills, they want collaboration, teamwork, and they want to be job ready. And as educators, are we really doing that? So that introspection is where we are, is what I feel now. In 23 months, that realization across the board has happened that jo chal raha tha, that is not going to be the normal. Thank you, Colonel Shekhar.
Right. Great point, but I'll just take a contra view. As you always know, I'm in Kadapa, a tier 2, tier 3 city. The desperation for marks continues to be what it is. I'll pick it up a little later on that the willingness for us to think that the old order changes for pastures new, which has gone very fast, is not necessarily understood across the board. So that's something which we'll debate upon. Madam Vijayalakshmi, you have been there right from the beginning. You now have an idea how I plan to move this discussion ahead. So do you agree with Gautam? He says that we are all staring at a future. Yesterday, when we spoke to all of you and I spoke to you, we talked about this 2047. And that's the point I'm trying to highlight. The student in grade 1 who's going to come into school grade 1, 22, 23, is going to look for his or her job in 2047.
Yeah.
So are we ready for it? Are we getting the children ready for it? We talk about school ready, college ready, job ready, life ready. So in those 15 years, are we getting them ready? Madam Vijayalakshmi, your short introduction about dream schools and your 90 seconds.
Yes, I am myself Vijayalakshmi Goswami Lahiri, and I am working as the state head of Dream India Schools, which is under banner of GEMS Group of Education. So according to me, I am agreed upon Gautam's point that now NEP has come up. And NEP is such a great idea that previously the contemporary education we were all providing, okay, in CBSE, even in IB board also I'm talking about, as because our GEMS is in that ICSE board as well as IB board. So here we were taking the students with such motivation along with skill providing. I mean, we were providing them enough skill to handle the situation. And what is our basic idea is to prepare them, as you rightly said, sir, Mr. Shekhar, that we need to prepare them for future. For the school, in class 1, somebody is coming, passing out the PP arena and entering the school, a proper schooling, that is from 1 to grade 10th, then plus 2, then the college, universities, and then finally for the job. So from day 1, say suppose for grade 1 to 4, primary children I'm talking about, if we are not preparing them with enough public speaking skill, to present themselves from the very beginning, then gradually, slowly and gradually, we need to break them up. For NEP, I'd like to say one thing, that previously in the contemporary education, they used to follow, if suppose I am getting future planning, that I need to be like this, okay, a doctor, or say a musician, if such profession is being taken by any student. So for each and every one to learn each and every subject, it is not a must. First, if they need to prepare themselves for as a research fellow who will study for the Indian philosophy, then they must not get
Fair enough, ma'am. I get what you are saying about NEP. But I'll come to that NEP point a little later, because that's something which requires multiple points of view to be assimilated. Madam Geeta, good morning. It's good afternoon. How are you?
Very fine, Colonel Shekhar.
Right, yes. Good. Your globe looks very prominent behind you. So looking at it that way, so my question to you is picking up from what Madam Vijayalakshmi has spoken is, I have had several of these book publishers landing up saying that our books are all NEP aligned. Have you had the same experience? Half the world landing up in your school asking for this new book, that new book, how they prepared the new books without the national curriculum framework? I have absolutely no idea, sir, but they seem to have made it. So that's one part of the commercial thing which is happening. So my question, how has the old new normal been 23, 24 months after not having regular school? Where do you see your school as of today? after a short introduction about yourself. Your 90 seconds starts now, madam.
Thank you. I'm Geeta Varshne. I'm Education Director at Sri Ram Global School in Noida Extension. And we are a new school. 2019 we started, and 2020 the pandemic started. So you can imagine.
You're part of the Sri Ram group, correct?
Yes.
So
And
you
now,
are an original pandemic school. Can we say
yes,
that?
absolutely.
Right.
And the journey has been, I think, a great learning for everybody, all stakeholders, and I think a lesson for all of us. I think all those who were Nova Rich, got high salaries at young age and started spending, got a shock of their life. In schools also, all the teachers became tech savvy, all the supervisors became tech savvy. So I think it is a great experience that I look back upon. And yes, it will leave some imprint on the education in school and bring about changes. And we are looking forward for those changes. And I think this is what we'll discuss more in the session.
More, yes.
Thank you.
So, yeah, to what extent will it be changing, Geeta madam? I have two views. Swati Popat says that 80% will go back to the old normal, pre-2020 March, only 20% will change. I have several who say, no, things have been changed beyond the ability to go back to normal. Which part are you supporting?
I think that element of change would vary from place to place and school to school. Some will change to 40% also. But I don't think in schools everything can change. Our infrastructures are still not free spaces like we experienced in online. I mean, we are all in different locations and we are having a meeting together. So those things will take their time to come. But definitely change is there. And when the curriculum for the national education policy is also set and executed, a few more better changes will definitely.
Right. Ma'am, you have a good chance of becoming India's permanent representative in the UN Security Council. You are neither taking Russia's side nor America's side. That's a smart answer for me to hear. Dr. Suchitra, good afternoon. How are you? I can't hear you, ma'am. You are on mute.
Right. I said, I'm fine. Thank you so much, sir.
Right. How are you? And what is your take? Geeta believes that there will be changes. She's putting a minimum of at least 30 to 40%. There are people who talk about 80%, and the most leaders in the education space have sold off their regular schools, are investing in online education. Do you agree? Is that the way forward, Dr. Suchitra? A short introduction about you and your school and your 90 seconds.
Thank you so much once again. Dr. Suchitra Bhattacharya from New Delhi, working in Faridabad, Manav Rachna International School, an educator since 21 years. And yes, these 2 years have been a roller coaster for all of us. However, with my positive attitude, I feel there has been a great change, and I would give 90% a positive change, both from the student side and from the educator side. We have all grown together, we have learned together, and children have really shown tremendous resilience. Things were definitely not good for.
We have lost you, ma'am. You seem to have just frozen yourself in mid-conversation. Please rejoin. Dr. Parthi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm very much there.
Yes. Can we see you on screen, please? Good
Sure.
afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
How are you all?
Yes, we have been missing for quite a while. Yeah. Can you answer the same question I'd asked Dr. Suchitra? What is your take from your vantage point? How do you look at it?
See, it is very easy to move from old to new because our minds are engaged when we are learning something new. Yeah. So it was easier to shift from offline to online because there was new learning happening every second. So everybody was too engaged. Everybody was feeling there was a sense of achievement when I could share a file on the screen, when I could show my children a YouTube video or things like that. But it is going to be tougher in getting back to the old school thought. It's going to be for children to sit on those wooden or plastic chairs on a 90-degree angle for those 6 hours is going to be tough. For moms to pack a tiffin box is going to be tough. For teachers, again, to go back to head count and getting the lines done and putting them in the buses and getting them from buses off from buses is going to be a tough call.
Agreed.
So we
I
are
entirely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not going back to the old will be much more tougher than it was to learn something
Fair
new
enough.
when we
That's
went
an interesting take. I mean, let us also not underestimate the passive resistance amongst teachers. They are so used to that prestige pressure cooker whistles sitting in your classrooms that I at least find serious resistance amongst them. The moment I say physical classes, they have, and when it's been raining or some issues, online classes, you have to come to school to take the online classes. If looks could kill, they use their brahmastras with their eyes. So that's what it is. Coming back to you, Dr. Suchitra, please complete what you were saying.
Yeah, I started saying that, yes, I am very positive with the changes that has taken place. To get back to immediately to the student side, students have really learned a lot. They've matured quite a bit. I wouldn't say it's going to be an easy task for them to come back to the in-campus school. And similarly, as you've said, with the teachers also, it is not easy. However, we have all understood that we need to change and we need to be prepared for the present moment. And frankly speaking, in my organization, we've been working thoroughly with a little bit of gap on online education with the teachers. They have been in the campus. And with our student strength as on today, it's amazing. Even the tiny tots are so very happy to be in the campus. So talking of me, yes, it's not easy, but we are all positive and things are not very difficult also. So
Okay,
that's how
fair,
I would take it.
Fair. You are talking about a pure Ramarajya in your school, Dr. Suchitra. I, for one, would have a different point of view. Gautam, do you agree? She is saying that it's almost close to Nirvana at its very best space. She's a very sunny personality. Do you agree? Has it been that easy? What are the challenges you have faced?
There is no doubt that children are extremely ecstatic to be back in the campus to a certain age group. If you ask a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grader, probably not. Probably not. The younger ones definitely are. And teachers, for once, enjoy the fact that they can mingle with their colleagues, they can be in the physical classrooms. There is no doubt. But there is also a section of them who find it extremely hard now to be back into there. So it's a mixed bag for all of us. To the point that how do we make what we have done so far sustainable? And the key word for me here is sustainable. Whatever trainings, whatever has happened so far, how do we make it sustainable? In my view, the answer is we need to regularly invest in teacher training going forward. There has to be a sustained effort from the management to the certain extent that they make it mandatory. Like we have made it mandatory for a number of hours of training has to be done, apart from what NEP suggests or CBSE suggests. But you have to go in professional development. If you look at any industry that has flourished or any industry that has made change, where the change is sustainable, they have invested in human resource which has been trained. And teachers, for once, had been very lackluster on the training front pre-pandemic. Suddenly it came, we all went into an emergency mode, trained ourselves. If this has to be sustainable from here onwards, if we have to carry the good work that we have done here onwards, if we have to implement NEP in its true spirit and sense from here onwards, then training and more training is required. And across the board, I'm not just talking about schools in the metros, I am talking more about schools which are in tier 2, 3, and probably rural areas, which require more hand holding. So for me, the mantra is training.
Training, 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 and more training. So it's always useful to look at the life of a teacher. She gets up early in the morning, 5 o'clock or 5:30, prepares a cup of tea or coffee for the MCP who is known as Gautam or Shekhar. We move forward. She runs the whole school. She gets running around, comes back in the evening into the routine, in-laws, children. So do we have the space for this? Do we think about the education profession with the same seriousness we look at it elsewhere? What's your take, Madam Geeta? Gautam talks about, in my terms, if I read him right, I'm somebody who says 120 hours of training every year is non-negotiable. And when I talk about training, especially on a Saturday afternoon, when beyond school hours, that is a significant challenge any which way. So what's your take? How can we get this training to move forward?
So there's no two views about it. The teachers and the school has to be a learning organization. Teachers have to keep on learning. Once this is clear, then we have to take out time. And we know that teachers are very busy people handling work-life balance very well. So it is something that we have to devise. So maybe not a Saturday afternoon, but a Saturday morning, maybe 1.5 hour slots online, modules which can be taken up online. But there are so many ways in which we can do it. We have certain days when children have exams or they have prep leaves. So the off days can be used for that. So it's not that once you decide that you are going to make the best use of the time, and it has to be, you see, training calendar has to be spaced and formulated in such a way that whatever training you are giving to them, they are able to implement it very immediately or very soon, and you are able to monitor it. Doing a training piece, at the beginning of the summer break is not such a good idea. Doing it when the break ends is a better idea, so that they can, the classes start and they can implement it. So when you make a training calendar, then you have to keep these things in mind. And we
Fair
also
enough.
have...
I have,
and we also
I'm not going into it, madam. I'm saying is the sustainability, the key word Gautam used right from the beginning. What is sustainable and what is not sustainable? And what I am trying to envisage, all of us have done this, have sustained this. I'm not looking for simple or simplistic solutions. What I'm seeing is, and the question I asked right at the beginning, the students have lost 2 years at various levels. Students are walking into schools without having seen schools or breaks. We are seeing its impact on a daily basis. And there are parents who say, why not online throughout? When we made offline compulsory, the blowback from the parents was enormous. As Gautam pointed out, many students were very comfortable sitting at home. Lots of challenges happened. So again, in the conversations I had, we never had the printing press. From the printing press, we moved towards textbooks. From textbooks, we moved towards tabs. Now it's completely online, things phone. We have to keep changing. So my question is, we have somehow dragged our 19th century teacher to the 21st century. How do you sustain it? Madam Vijayalakshmi, what are you doing in your schools which have a standing of their own? How would you retain a teacher and train a teacher? Madam Vijayalakshmi.
Yeah, actually, in our time, we have seen there were so many teachers who were a different kind of teaching mode. I mean, sometimes if we see from Shantiniketan concept up to the Gurukul concept and our world school concept also, there basically what they were doing is just to open the book to, with full knowledge and preparation, they were delivering the lesson to the students. Some homework was there, okay, and some project work. Slowly and gradually, we were concentrating on the projects more, practical works more, and the theoretical knowledge less. That is the basic changes what I am saying. Accordingly, we prepare and train the teachers how to take out the questions from the students rather than to engage them only in the bookish language or the bookish material. So this is one of my point. Accordingly, we prepare the teachers, we give them the training for, and basically the who to explore the knowledge more in the more better arena and the circumference. Okay, so now what the teachers are doing according to their training, suppose the some questionnaires that is there in the one chapter, they just used to complete that questions and answers, and basically they were giving notes to the student for the senior classes and middle classes, I'm telling. Now what they are doing, different kind of exercises are there based on not only science but the other arenas also. Now we are in EVS also, in the general science EVS, we are interconnecting with all the nature to the other subjects also, how we can. Then the environment, how to protect the environment and how to,
Fair enough, ma'am. I get what you are saying. I understand what you are saying. So I'll follow up on this to Dr. Suchitra. And my question to you is, we had our teachers from the Gurukul, I pick up from there, then the machine age where we had teachers doing it in a particular manner. We have moved forward. Today we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution with Google, the FANG, which we call it as always, with Amazon everywhere, Facebook everywhere, or we must not say now FANG, we should say MANG because Facebook is Meta now. So in this world where you have information on your fingertips, and when 90% of us do not go beyond the first page of an internet search, when Google makes its money by putting algorithms which suit them where you can attract more people, what is the kind of teacher you want? My definition of a teacher has changed. How has it changed for you? What is the kind of teacher you want? Are we looking for a teacher face-to-face? Are we looking for a teacher who can take a synchronized live class? Are we looking for a teacher who can take a non-synchronized class? And are we going to have 3 different sets of matrices for recruiting them? Dr. Suchitra.
Yeah, thank you. In fact, a couple of minutes back, you had a point that we are preparing a generation which is much ahead. I think this has been always happening when we were teachers. We were being prepared for today when they belong to a primitive or much stage earlier. As Vijay Lakshmi ma'am said, things are also changing. You know, we have to proceed further, and I feel this this profession is such. Of course, it's challenging, no doubt about it. But which job is not challenging? Which job keeps recruits if they are not upgrading themselves? And when we are talking of a generation where we are dealing, which is going to be tomorrow's future, we have to be progressive. So we have to upgrade ourselves. We have to unlearn and then learn what is required, like what we have done. The paradigm shift has actually showed who is a proper teacher, and synchronization of the present generation demands, and of course the future plans, be it NEP, be it whatever. Nothing has happened all of a sudden. This technology was there, however, we were not using. Maybe the present scenario has made us dependent on it, but it had happened in a very positive way. And I feel that yes, now a teacher has to learn, synchronize, offline, online, whatever is required, he or she has to, as Gautam sir was saying, she has to train herself and absolutely make herself fit enough for today's demand by the organization.
Great, ma'am. So let me put in the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is most of us have cut salaries for our staff. We have also cut our fees, but I don't see any of the private universities doing that. Parents believe that online education is so much very easy. I'm sure everyone agrees. So to train our teachers, and I use the term from being a teacher today, you have to become a learning curator. The learning curator with everything coming up in its fulsome nature. We may have to use Lionel Messi to train students about Newton's laws of motion and how the ball curves itself. So where do we get the money for it, Madam Geeta? My question to you is, parents want lesser fees, teachers want more money, management, people like Gautam, want to balance both. Where do we have the money for training? That is the first thing we chop down, don't we, Madam Geeta?
So my experience has been slightly different, Colonel Shekhar, in the sense that we had neither reduced fee nor salaries, because the effort required for online was more. So we can't justify a reduction in salary. And fee also, we are a new school, we didn't reduce any. We had nothing to fall back upon.
Ma'am, please share your email ID with all of us. We will all be so very thrilled to take, and free air tickets, everything. Come and explain this to our parents, more than on the lighter side. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So when it comes to getting funds for training, I think now we have so many ways in which we can do the training. And most important is that we do a session on sharing best practices with our teachers fortnightly. And this has been the biggest source of our training. So when we faced a problem of, facing some issue in MS Teams or Zoom, there were teachers who got solutions and they shared with others. When we had a problem of conducting open book tests because children could find all answers from Google, we had teachers who had, had cracked it, that what kind of questions and in various subjects can be framed and how to frame and how to put across that kind of assessment. So our biggest source has been sharing these best practices. And then we encourage teachers to find solutions to the problems and come back. We have in fact put in a system of rewards and recognitions for that. So unless we are demonstrating, and of course, where we need, we have to hire, experts from outside to do it. And if the teachers know that their competency will improve by a training program, if it is a very expensive training program, teachers can pitch in and fund it also. So a sharing of, the fee can also be done between the management and the teachers. So for all our expensive programs, we float that kind of a thing.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So see, if you come down to solving, you can find solutions.
Right. And fair enough, ma'am. I agree with you. I'm from the army. We look for solutions. We don't say that Pakistan or China is faring more. We look for solutions. But what I'm reflecting is, across the board, you must be one of the very few schools who have been able to sustain. My own understanding across, having discussed, interacted with a lot of people, it has been a huge, significant challenge. I can see you shaking your head, Gautam. Your thoughts on it?
I would agree with what Geeta ji said verbatim. And we are also one of the few schools, and we are very proud of that, who did not reduce any salary for the teachers or pass on any kind of rebate to the parents for two reasons. One, like she mentioned, that online required a certain amount of effort. And two, the society really needs to understand and appreciate that teaching is a very serious profession. And our parents, more so than everybody else, we come from a school which is the Delhi public school, so we understand our parents are people who can afford. So when in the pandemic, there was no reduction in either bank loans or car loans or flight tickets or etc., why do you expect a reduction in the school fees? And that has been the narrative which has been by the media, by the government, by a certain set of parents who create this propaganda. And I will not take the discussion in that direction because it's not going to be any productive in any way. But the point is that we as educators within our own community need to take and understand that teaching is a very, very serious profession, and only those people should come into teaching who can give those 10 to 12 hours When I
But
look at
I'll interrupt you here deliberately, two parts.
Sure.
When I also belong to the set of school where salaries were not reduced, or other things. My point is more generic. I'm not specific to anyone. The second point is schools among the very best, the Doones, the Mayos, etc., have had to reduce because of various reasons, courts, etc. And a large number of teachers have lost their jobs.
Sure.
This is a reality. And another question which we have to ask ourselves as principals, and this is something which I have had a big bone to pick with a lot of people. How many of us have stood up to our superiors or trustees or managers to say that you cannot sack a teacher, you can only do it after the COVID is over? It has not happened. And I personally know of dozens of teachers who have gone down the route where I know headmasters selling idlis and dosas. This is a reality. And you, as a school wherein you had a populace which was relatively better off, and they were the ones shouting the loudest through various fora. So the challenge is being much bigger. And even schools like ours, Hyderabad Public School is a known brand, and the amount of difficulty we have had in getting the fees back has been a significant challenge. So
absolutely, I do not deny.
The two questions on this, Gautam, is the economy. This is the last set of questions before I go to the final bit of summary of answers. One, the economy is not doing well. Two, the economy can only get back into even pre-pandemic levels, a minimum of 2 to 3 years. Hopefully, the Russians and the Ukrainians see some sense. Those are beyond our hands. So the challenge I'm trying to highlight is the future. Tamil Nadu, which is India's most college-specific state along with Delhi, has had a reduction of 70,000 students in grade 1 compared to grade 9. So the number of children coming to school is coming down significantly. UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh could be exceptions for the next 10 years. One. Second, most state governments are looking at schools as a vote winner. Almost everyone is seeing schools. I'm in Andhra Pradesh. Almost everything, the chief minister wants to have CBSE schools in every pranta, UP, everyone is doing it. So in this context, Gautam, what is the future of the private school and how do we go ahead? Over to you.
Thank you. Pertinent point, Colonel Shekhar, and something that we are all dealing with. But I would like to highlight here that, again, there are two Indias that we are talking about. One, of course, in the urban schools like ours, which are relatively well off, where the drop down ratio hasn't been so much. And two, we are talking about rural or tier 2, tier 3 towns, where this has been a very, very significant number. And of course, the government has not been very kind to the private schools. Going forward, I feel the only way that this can be sustainable is if private schools work in tandem together to have sort of a understanding. Because right now what I see that is happening is that one school is not providing, let us say, a TC because the fee has not been paid, but the child goes and takes admission in another school. And so those are issues which are very practical issues that we private schools face on a daily basis. Right? These are very petty issues, but they are practical issues. Secondly, the issue of salary reductions, I think as an organization, we all need to stand together on this front, in front of the society, in front of our parents. Of course, if there is a governmental pressure, if there are laws passed, we cannot do anything about it. But willingly, the reduction in salaries that have happened by the management is something that I condemn completely. And I say this, that you have so many other ways in which to make your school sustainable. You have a workforce of parents, you have a workforce of teachers who can come together and support the school system. So we need to devise systems within ourselves and as individual ecosystems to sort of make this working, sustainable, and going forward. But to be fighting amongst each other is not the solution. And I think that is where it has come to for all of us.
I agree. The competitive spirit is Gautam school has lost 5 students. Get them and get to Shekhar school. To hell with Gautam and how it is. In fact, when I was in Ajmer, principal of the military school there, Mayo boys, Mayo girls, Mayur. And I was in a difficult situation. The support we gave each other, the deal was wonderful. The Mayo principal rang up, the wonderful Pramod Sharma. He says, Colonel Shekhar, if you want admission, speak to me. Don't tell anyone else. 2, if you want something, let me know. So that happened. But in this hyper competitive world where we are poaching each other, teachers especially, that's something which we will have to look at in a much more serious manner. Dr. Suchitra, your take on what I highlighted. And as I can see in southern India, Kerala is going big time into sponsoring government schools. And some of the schools in Kerala have been rated internationally, government schools, as among the very best. So how do we move forward, and what is the way you think private schools can balance out and sustain themselves for the next 25 years?
I would agree to Mr. Gautam here again. Like since I'm lucky enough to be associated with international curriculum and international school, there was a challenge definitely. When we talk of standing beside each other, definitely we, I mean, bigger schools, bigger brands did not have much of a difficulty in talking about teachers and their salary slashes. We did not also face anything of that sort. However, talking about the parents, yes, we have a mixed group of parents where many agree that, yeah, we need to support the teachers, we need to support the school, but there are many who actually face difficulty since they have lost their jobs and they were unable to pay. And therefore, we again, from the organization, there were different scholarships, different mode of way we went to help out. Definitely collecting fees was not an easy task because many did not agree to the fact that we should be giving the same amount in spite of having an online class. Building charges were not required because building has not been used. I mean, these are small things, petty things, but yeah, that was a small portion. And I think communication played a big role where the management, the head of the institution, the teachers, when you communicate with the parents, make them understand, though it is difficult, but we to some extent solve the issue and things are in a better progress. Yes, definitely many schools are facing. However, every parent, if they can afford, they want the child to get best of education. And we private schools, I think everyone will agree to the fact that every day we are changing and trying to evolve new technologies, new things to give the best to the parent. So those group that I won't say affluent or anyone who's wanting to will still continue. But yes, in this pandemic, government schools are doing very well. If I talk of Delhi, very, very good government schools are there. So there is going to be a difference, fine. But those clan who would want their children to be in these private schools, the high-end schools, will definitely want to put them even now. So the competition is there, but then I think everyone is navigating in their own way, and we are able to sustain in a very positive way.
You believe that this many private schools are sustainable?
Yes, when
will we have an Air India geo situation? Will it happen in future?
Yeah, with the early year schools, yes, I would definitely give a very clear view of what's happening at my side of the country. Lots of pre-primary early year schools have stopped. When we talk of senior schools, we are facing a little bit of challenge. There are lots of TCs who couldn't continue because, as I said, job loss or maybe the parental death has gone. Yeah, it's not going to be, easy. But then, yes, we will sustain. I think most of us will be able to sustain ourselves.
Most of us would be able to sustain. I have a definite contra view looking at the numbers any which way. Madam Geeta, my question to you is, here we have a school. I'm taking ballpark figures. You have to pay 1 lakh per year, just as a figure. And you have a government school which is providing close to 60% of what you are giving at no cost, or at best 10,000 rupees. Why should the parent put his or her child in your school?
The answer to this is obvious, it's evident. If there was no, nothing forcing the parents or asking the parents to go to the private school, the government schools would have been in great demand, but that's not the case.
No,
Even
I'm talking about the future. Yeah, I'm deliberately putting this question because most states are now finding this a vote winner. Kerala has really transformed itself slowly, the Delhi model. How effective it is, we'll take it separately. I know of Orissa where every taluka is getting a CBSE school. I was part of it for a while. So I am saying is that 2-3 things. One, the government sustains itself that way, focusing on it better. 2, the number of children come down. 3, the amount of money the parent has comes down. Under these circumstances, how much better has the private school got to be to sustain themselves?
Yes, it is a different ball game now. The competition is more severe, and government schools coming up is a great thing, because we would want that. We just speak of education for all, but education for all can be meaningful only when the quality of government schools improve. And I am in touch with people who are working for this very cause and doing a great scene. What happens to schools in Goa or in Manipur, there are school-wide programs, very effective programs happening and bringing up productivity of government schools, which is great. You see, just like in the corporate, the post-pandemic finance and marketing has changed. The school model also will have to change. And we are thinking on those lines. So if a school wants to sustain itself, then it should offer a variety of programs. It may have a day program with coaching thrown in for competitive exams, or sports academies thrown in, and a fee structure for that. It can have another program where the children only attend a few classes online, give the exams. It can have a completely distance program where you see contact sessions once a week or once a month or whatever. So we as a school have to also think of different strategies, because
so online, offline, hybrid, coming, play. So I have this model, and this I'm asking Gautam. We will have a school wherein Monday is physical attendance day, Tuesday, Wednesday is optional, Thursday is games, complete day, Friday examinations, Saturday in terms of training and development. Friday is exam day, Saturday, Sunday, the school becomes an Amazon warehouse. Do you agree, Gautam?
I take a contra view on that, Colonel Shekhar, completely. And I think for 2 reasons. One is schools are not just temples of learning in academic structures. They are also social interaction places. And you want children to come to school for the very social interaction that they have, whether it happens in the bus with their seniors, whether it happens in the classroom or in the staff room with their teachers. So what we have realized in this pandemic is learning continued in the online space, but the social interaction was missing.
Absolutely.
And that is why children need to come on all 5 days. And I don't think the future of school education is ever going to be so hybrid where you use it for 2 days as a Amazon warehouse. My point, again, coming to the last point where you were talking about what is the pressure on the private schools. I think there are 3 kinds of schools that exist in India. One are government schools, one are budget private schools, and one are private schools. The second rung, which is the budget private school, is the one which is facing the most amount of pressure because they are neither here nor there. They are not able to provide the quality that a private school requires, but their fee structures are way higher than what a government school does. So these guys in the middle either need to reinvent themselves. and say that we are going to charge a higher fee or provide better services, and that is how I'm going to be sustainable. Or they lower their fee enough that the difference between the government school and them becomes negligible. In either case, they are the ones who need to reinvent themselves, because in India, there is always and always going to be takers for private schools, because we have seen in the last 75 years what the government has done with the government schools. And there is a certain amount of skepticism in the minds of the who's who can pay, that do they want to really take a chance with their biggest asset, which is their children? And I think the answer is no.
Yeah,
so
I have
as far as
just short
private
of
schools are
time.
concerned-
Just short of time, Gautam. Sorry,
Okay.
last 3 or 4 minutes. So quickly, see the other challenge. I have a contra view on this is that the residential schools, the old-fashioned, when you have double income single kid, do I send them there so many hours, etc. Unless the divorces and separations go up, that's what they are funding their systems on. Numbers are changing. Yes, Sandeep, what's your thought?
Sir, I've been listening and to this amazing conversation where we are talking about sustainability, and during our events as well. And since we are also involved with a lot of skill development activity, across Asian markets specifically. So just wanted to ask, all the panelists that we have such amazing infrastructures, throughout, and which will be used only till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because that is the time where the student is there and he moves out. So, and various government initiatives like NSDC skill development projects, whether you want to run a private skill development projects, what is stopping the schools from incorporating these skill development institutions where they can generate additional revenue? Now, this is not a compulsory education. This is
We have only 2 minutes. Quick answers. I'll start from you, Geeta madam. Quick answer. Short answer, quick answer.
Very sadly, Sandeep, we stay in a time when schools are not allowed to do any other activity, commercial. We are bound. Otherwise, we would use our infra 24/7.
Right.
It's very
So
sad.
that Amazon warehouse comment was a metaphorical, ironic comment, because how we'll have to sustain ourselves. Gautam, your thoughts here.
As we speak, NSD, like Sandeep said, they are setting up schools they are empowering schools to set up skill development centers. We have been approached by them, and as we speak, we are training our set of teachers, and we will be using the infra after that. So government has realized, and what Sandeep said is a very valid point, and that is going to help sustainability in these budget private schools.
Right. Okay. Last question, Dr. Sujitra. Your school in 2047. In one line, how will it be 25 years from today? One sentence only.
Yes, to make better citizens for that particular time, better citizens for tomorrow.
Better citizens. Technologically, Madam Geeta, where will your school be when India is celebrating its 100th year of independence?
So we'll have a chip every year, a curriculum chip, which would be inserted every year's curriculum
into our heads. Good. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Yes, Gautam, how many more DPSs will you be pro-vice chairman of in 2047?
I think my hands are full now. With handling the pandemic, I think my hands are full. But on a serious note, I think in 2047, we look and we hope to have a school which becomes a temple for learning for all, including the society members and parents, which can help people become skilled in various domains. So our teachers, parents, drivers, conductors, maids, everybody takes training there for various things and upgrades themselves.
Egalitarian society. Am I right? Okay, right. All of you, the one question you wanted to ask me, I have asked more than a dozen. The one question you wanted to ask me, Gautam first.
Where do you get such amazing, speaking skills?
Oh, I'm not a speaker. I encourage you guys to speak. I'm a provocative questioner. That's about it, Gautam.
Colonel Shekhar, it has
Yes.
been a pleasure to be here and hearing you and the way you've been asking questions. And I think this conversation really, has gotten all of us to think really through where we are going to be in 2047. So
Thank you, Gautam. Dr. Sujitra, your question for me. You are on mute.
So many educators here. I would just like to ask, how do we stand beside each other and make the government realize that educators need to be given importance too and should
I think
be
my
at the top of the
answer
list?
is, we are like the industrialists. They always say the budget is 11 out of 10 in front of NDTV and CNBC 18. Behind the back, we talk all kinds of things. First of all, there is severe lack of intellectual courage in all of us. We do not want our confrontations. Somebody has to stand up, and when we start checking these, the issues are very clear. The MLA's daughter, the MP's daughter, so-and-so's daughter, they all take when we have, from smaller things. So what happens is, first of all, we do not have an idea what it is. And this time, I wouldn't challenge the teacher or the principal. I'm lucky to have a loose tongue and a pension to boot with. So I tend to be like this, and I tend to ask these questions. Why should Sandeep ask these questions when he asked me this question? His next contract will not come up. So there are challenges. The big problem is we are creating a bunch of students who are not encouraged to ask questions. I do not know. I am sorry. I check and get back to you. Let's learn together. These are the 4-5 statements a teacher should have, but we refuse to do that, ma'am. It's our problem. We don't look at it ourselves. It's our problem. Dr. Geeta, your question for me.
It's not a question to you. It's just a question to everybody in the panel. I think the sense of responsibility we have for the kids is immense. I think all of us are well-meaning people, but I think we need to have forums where we sit and find more solutions to schools, for schools, and we should engage some more stakeholders into it. Students as well as parents. So when we are deciding, we get a better input from the other two stakeholders also.
Fair enough, ma'am. I'm with you. However, sorry, ma'am, I disagree with you that we are responsible as a collective teaching community. I strongly disagree with you on that. Our sense of responsibility, individuals are different. Our sense of responsibility in terms of we have no clue as to what kind of jobs our children or students are going to get in 2030.
Yes.
I don't think we are aware of it, and we are willing to drive ourselves crazy. The parent will give a mobile to a student, but will not use the mobile to drive the class. There's so many challenges here. I disagree with you on that aspect. On the second aspect, I completely agree with you. The students who are the biggest stakeholders have the least voice in what we are doing. Sandeep, your question as we conclude.
So one question that is, what as a forum, that I would like to ask all of you. So we are a new forum. What as a forum that you would like us to be?
Just said
so
it.
That we could.
She just said it. Parents, teachers, students, and some of us who claim we know everything. Right. I make this point very clear. This has been a wonderful discussion because we were allowed to question each other. We were allowed to disagree. And all the panelists took my questions very sportingly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Sujitra, Gautam, Madam Geeta, and to you, Sandeep. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you for tolerating me. Back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think this was such a wonderful session. Before the panel discussion began, Colonel Shekhar asked me, what do you mean by superstar panel discussion? And what do you mean by stalwarts? This is exactly what I meant. With that, I would end this panel discussion, because after this, we do not need any other explanation for superstars as well as stalwarts. Thank you so much for all the wonderful speakers. Thank you so much for the listeners. We're going to have another session, panel number 2, coming up in another 10 minutes. So stay tuned with the Digital Education Summit and Awards 2022. Thank you.
And you're doing
Have
an
a great
amazing
day.
job. Amazing
Thank
job
you.
by
God bless you. Take
bringing
care.
in so many views together. And that's really great.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
We really enjoyed, I personally really enjoyed having this discussion, and I think some very good insights, especially taking a view on how budget private schools would survive. And I think very pertinent point there, Colonel Shekhar. We'll take more offline with you and have a chat on that.
Absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully this might be, hopefully, fingers crossed, if pandemic does not strike us one more time, we'll try to be more offline.
You Brutus, don't say that.
Don't say
We are
it.
just about, last year when I asked these questions, will the next academic year be offline? In one panel, everyone said offline, and it did not happen, right?
So that's our
So
fingers
please
crossed.
don't say that. Hands, bodies, everything crossed. Thank you, ladies
All right.
and
Thank
gentlemen.
you so
Thank
much.
you.